Ken declared with a trembling voice filled with anger.
We are not receiving any support from you all. We are independent.
I responded with a touch of jest. As for the remittances, it wouldn't matter at all if we stopped them right now. Lisa added with a teasing tone.
Do you even have the courage to do that?
The in-laws looked down on my husband and had no faith in his abilities at all. The day came when I made up my mind. One day, the in-laws were at their wits' end and rushed to my husband's workplace, begging for help with tears in their voices. Lisa pleaded while breaking down in tears.
Please, give us financial support.
Ken begged, appealing to family bonds.
We're family, aren't we? Can't you help us?
This is a real situation that I faced. My name is Mia. I am 34 years old. I have continued my career in this company since graduating from college, and now I am a respected manager, leading my subordinates. The responsibility of work is indeed heavy, and there are hardships, but all of that is a great source of fulfillment for me, and I truly enjoy my job. My dedication to work fills my days, and as a result, I hardly have any time for private life, such as dating. Looking back, I have reached this age in the blink of an eye, and I sometimes feel like I am the only one left behind in time. Many of my friends have built happy families through marriage and childbirth. They have already acquired their dream homes and are in what is typically considered the happy stage of life. It might be common for people in my age group to have reached this life stage. However, I am still single and enjoying living alone. From the outside, it seems like I lead a free and enviable life, and I sometimes hear comments like, "You must have it easy." I don't think my friends mean any harm by it. They have families, are swamped with childcare and housework, and stress over mortgage repayments, so when they think about that stress, my life must seem enviable to them. However, every time I hear such comments, I have mixed feelings. We are all living the lives we chose. I am simply living the result of my own choices. Getting married and buying a house were my friends' choices. I merely chose work over those things. And yet, when I hear "you must have it easy," I can't help but feel a sense of unfairness somewhere. While I resist internally, such moments become an opportunity for me to rethink my way of life. Is it really okay to continue like this? Am I truly happy? I am indeed passionate about my work and live each day filled with a sense of fulfillment. But that cannot be everything in life. Perhaps I have started to consider the option of experiencing love, getting married, and building a loving family. In a moment filled with uncertainty, I decided to ask my close friend, Sarah, who had just gotten married and started a new life, about how she met her spouse. Interestingly, she revealed that she met him through an online dating app and kindly shared the specific name of the app with me. Following her recommendation, I installed the app on my smartphone and carefully created my profile and then waited. To my surprise, an unexpected number of messages flooded my inbox. Indeed, some messages seemed to be from dubious businesses, but I was genuinely astonished by the interest and contacts from people with various backgrounds. Going through these messages one by one is going to take more time than I thought, I realized. However, using breaks at work, I started to go through each profile one by one. Despite being as careful as possible, I inevitably had to preemptively filter out people who gave off an unclean impression based on their appearance from the overwhelming number of profiles. Since the service was free for women, I could browse through many profiles with ease. Conversely, I realized that the male users had to pay to use the service, and this might make continuous use challenging for them. Among them, I found several profiles that left a good impression on me and sent them likes. As a result, mutual likes led to matches, allowing me to exchange messages with those male users. Consequently, among the people I communicated with through the dating app, there were some who I felt right away were not a match for me. Some people were overly casual in their way of speaking. Even though we had just met, others rushed to set up a meeting, or I found out that their intentions were clearly unrelated to romance. These people had seemingly fulfilling profiles on the surface, but once we started exchanging messages, many of them exhibited strange attitudes. Through accumulating such experiences, I painfully realized that finding a truly trustworthy partner even with a match is not straightforward. There came a time when I almost lost all hope, only to meet someone who seemed ideal. However, upon meeting in person, I realized they were completely different from their profile photo. Furthermore, I was informed that the photo was taken 6 years ago, and their current appearance bore hardly any resemblance to that time. After experiencing such encounters a few times, I felt that I might completely lose hope in finding a match through this dating app. These consecutive experiences left me with barely any hope for online dating. I thought to myself, if the next profile I see makes me uncomfortable, I'm going to stop trying to find new connections through this app. It was under this mindset that I carefully reviewed the profiles of people who recently sent me likes. Among the numerous profiles, there was one person whose thoughtful introduction and expressive face in their profile picture caught my attention. Their profile exuded a refined impression. Without hesitation, I reciprocated with a like, and soon enough, we matched. Once matched, a message from him quickly followed. His name was Mike, a 37-year-old man, 3 years my senior. Although I had my doubts about his single status, his gentle demeanor and sincerity, which I could feel through our messages, brought comfort to my heart. After exchanging messages several times, we decided to meet up and talk in person. Deep down, I sincerely hoped that he would be just like he appeared in his photos as I eagerly awaited his arrival at our meeting place. When the person who appeared addressed me, I was astounded. It was Mike, the man I was supposed to meet. Contrary to the image in the photo, he was even more attractive in person. The pleasant aura he exuded and the sound of his voice completely captivated me. Frankly, during our first meeting, my heart was strongly drawn to him, and I was instantly enchanted. After our unforgettable encounter, we moved away from the hustle and bustle and headed to a serene cafe. During our relaxed time there, we engaged in various conversations, providing us with the opportunity to get to know each other deeply. Mike spoke lightheartedly about how he doesn't photograph well, and joked about how he looks somewhat older in pictures than he does in real life. During our conversation, it felt so comfortable and natural talking to him that it was hard to believe it was our first time meeting. He was seriously committed to his job, dressed in clean and sophisticated, yet simple clothing. Most importantly, I was fortunate that he had a good impression of me. From that day on, we started communicating through message and gradually began to go on more dates, sharing more and more of our time together. With each date, my feelings for Mike grew stronger. Just being by his side brought me peace and calmness. Then, after a date one day, he confessed his feelings to me seriously. My immediate response was yes. And so, our relationship officially began as a couple, and we continued to date and deepen our connection. About a year into our relationship, Mike proposed to me in a touching manner, filling me with a happiness I had never felt before. Although I have devoted many years to my career, I deeply realize that the joy of finding a life partner is completely different from the success of my job. I happily accepted his proposal, and we started walking down the new path of life together. As an important first step, we went to greet each other's parents. The parents were momentarily puzzled when they heard Mike was 37 years old, but through conversation with him, they recognized that he was a respectable man. They were reassured and gave us their blessing for our marriage. Next, we visited Mike's parents' house to greet them. The atmosphere was generally welcoming, but I couldn't help feeling a slight discomfort at the luxury of the items and attire worn by his parents. His house was quite ordinary, and his father worked for an average company and is now retired. Their lifestyle seemed a bit too extravagant for just a pension and retirement benefits, which led me to have some doubts. Of course, there could be income sources I am unaware of, like investments or inheritance. However, it was not my place to directly ask about such personal matters, so I just kept it in mind without delving too deeply. After the successful meeting of both families, we finally held our wedding ceremony. Our friends sincerely congratulated us on our marriage, and we received a grand celebration at the ceremony. I received apologies for the unpleasant words that had been said to me before, which became an opportunity to once again realize the importance of friendship. No matter how much time passes, the existence of friends is irreplaceable. I am not worried about the trivial misunderstandings and troubles that arise between us, because I know that a sincere apology can restore our relationship to its previous closeness. In fact, it was thanks to the cooperation of our friends that this marriage came to be, so I am truly grateful to them. Our wedding ceremony went smoothly, and after a fun honeymoon, we started our new life together as a couple. Every day spent with my husband is unexpectedly happy and fulfilling. He is good at cooking and efficiently manages household chores, so we can share the housework effectively even though we both work. The dishes he cooks are simple yet flavorful, made from carefully selected ingredients, always leaving us satisfied. It's really wonderful that we can enjoy such delicious and balanced meals while still keeping an eye on our budget.
Yeah, I was a bit worried about whether you'd accept my long-established eating habits, but I'm glad you did.
Not at all. It's really delicious. Plus, I'm impressed with how well you've managed financially since you were single. My respect for my husband deepened with this discovery. He is undoubtedly a reliable person, and I am confident that we can save money while living frugally together. That's why I suggested that we create a joint savings account and start depositing money into it, even if it's just a small amount each month. However, my husband showed a complex expression and seemed hesitant about this proposal. At first, Mike started talking about budgeting.
Well, how much are you thinking of saving each month?
He asked, hesitatingly. After thinking for a bit, I suggested, how about we each save $500 a month? However, Mike immediately responded with a slightly hesitant expression.
$500? Would it be possible to start with $200?
Surprised by his suggestion, I asked, "Why? What makes you say that?" I thought there must be a reason for this sudden proposal, beyond my understanding. Mike is not low on income. He works for a well-known company and has secured a substantial income due to his many years of service. So I couldn't see why he would hesitate to save money every month. Suddenly, a doubt crossed my mind. Could he be hiding something? I cautiously asked, "You don't have any debts, do you?" Mike hesitated for a moment, then confessed with a bitter expression.
Actually, I send money to my parents every month.
"What? You send them money?" I asked in surprise.
Yes, I do.
He answered succinctly. Although I was relieved that there was no worry about my husband's debt, the thought crossed my mind that he might be sending a considerable amount of money to his parents, which made him hesitant to contribute to our joint savings. I had once brought up the topic of financial support to my parents out of concern, wondering if they had enough to get by, but they had flatly refused, saying, "Don't worry about us." It wasn't anything special, but I still became curious about exactly how much money Mike was actually sending them. It was a bit of a sensitive and private question, but we were already married and I believed that we should share information about our financial situations with each other. So, I decided in my heart to gently proceed with the conversation. When I asked Mike how much he sends to his parents every month, his answer far exceeded my expectations.
Well, it's roughly about, I guess around $1,800 per month.
As Mike spoke, I felt a shock as if my heart had stopped for a moment. "What? $1,800? You send that amount every month?" I exclaimed, unable to believe it, and Mike, looking a bit embarrassed,
Yes, but do you think that's a lot?
asked in return. I immediately responded, "Considering the average, I think that's a considerable amount." Mike's face clouded over as he said,
Well, yeah, but my parents just aren't satisfied unless I send them that much.
revealing his true feelings, albeit reluctantly. Suddenly, expensive accessories and clothing that my in-laws had worn flashed in my mind. The discomfort I felt back then was apparently due to the high standard of living they enjoyed thanks to their son's money. As I thought about their extravagant lifestyle, I asked, "Do your mom and dad really need that much money?" Mike quietly nodded and said,
Yes, actually, they seem to struggle quite a bit every month.
"I think I could go to college because of my parents' sacrifices, and I feel the need to repay them." Responding with a sense of duty. While I understood his loyalty, I asked, "When did you start sending them money?" Mike said,
I started the year I began working.
and when I expressed my astonishment, saying, "So that means it's been going on for over 15 years now?" Mike admitted with a simple yet heavy voice.
Yeah, that's right.
As I listened to his story, I felt overwhelmed by emotions. When I calculated the total amount of money he had been sending every month, it easily exceeded $90,000. According to him, he started with about $450, but as he got promoted and received bonuses, the demands from his parents gradually increased. It seemed like my in-laws were preaching to my husband that financial support for parents should be a moral obligation as a way of paying them back. Hearing this fact, I was at a loss for words. Their actions were far from filial piety. It was nothing but exploitation. However, oblivious to this, my husband seemed to be under their control, perceiving the monthly remittances as a matter of course. He appeared to have almost no sense of doubt about what he was doing. I tried my best to point out his mistake to him. There's no way your parents are really struggling financially. If they were in dire straits, they wouldn't be buying brand name products one after another.
Really? I've always been told we've made a lot of sacrifices for your education, so I thought it was necessary.
It seemed that my repeated persuasion was beginning to make my husband question his actions. "Why don't you try suggesting to them to reconsider the amount of money you send? I'll support you all the way."
Yeah, I'll give it a try.
My husband agreed to my suggestion, and we decided to visit my in-laws the next time we sent money. At first, they welcomed us warmly, but their expressions changed completely when we brought up the topic of money.
Why do you want to decrease the amount of money you're sending us?
Well, actually, we want to decrease the amount a little bit.
And why do you want to decrease it?
My husband was exposed to my in-laws' sharp gaze.
We've built a new family since getting married. We want to increase our living expenses even a little bit, which has led us to reconsider the amount of money we send.
Don't you think that's being dependent?
Yes, you don't care about us anymore. Are you trying to cut us off so easily?
My in-laws continued to criticize my husband. Being brainwashed, he lost his words under their reproach, standing there silently. I had no choice but to intervene. "Do you realize how much Mike has contributed to you both? He's not trying to cut ties with you. From my perspective, now is the time to let him go and encourage him to be independent." As I spoke up, my in-laws widened their eyes in indignation. Ken, with a stern look and still maintaining his dignity, spoke in a stern voice.
Even if you are his wife, you should refrain from getting involved in these kinds of family matters. Outsiders have no place to intervene in delicate discussions among family.
However, I responded calmly. But legally, Mike and I are family as well. If sending money to your in-laws significantly affects our finances, it becomes a major issue for us as a married couple. Are you telling us to just turn a blind eye to such a situation? Isn't it time to break free from a lifestyle of continuous dependency on Mike? Relying on your son's earnings because you can't give up a luxurious lifestyle is questionable, don't you think? My words were a calculated challenge, and from our previous interactions, I had discerned that Ken and Lisa were individuals with high pride. I believed that stimulating their self-esteem would be the key to breaking this deadlock. As expected, anger appeared on my in-laws' faces. Ken, outraged, raised his voice.
This is no laughing matter. We're not relying on you, young people.
Lisa also did not hide her emotions and strongly countered.
Exactly. We're just providing an opportunity for filial piety. Nothing more, nothing less.
I responded calmly yet firmly. Indeed, that may be true. However, from my perspective, it seems that my husband has already more than fulfilled his duties of filial piety. Lisa, laughing through her nose, provocatively asked.
You're not in a position to decide that. It's Mike's choice to make. So, Mike, are you really okay with stopping the remittances? Can you really do that?
I could feel a blatant disdain in the in-laws' attitude, looking down on the man of our house. I made a strong resolution in my heart, then, I'll show them that we can stop the remittances as they wish. I firmly vowed to persuade my husband and thought about how to guide him to freedom from the influence of his parents. He seemed lost, but I could sense a faint sign of understanding and support for my position. After a deep contemplation, Mike said, "Give me a little time," and we headed home. On the way home, Mike, seeming somewhat remorseful, apologized.
Yeah, I'm sorry for dragging you into this messy situation.
I responded with an understanding attitude. It's okay. I expected the situation to turn out this way. More importantly, I want to hear what you truly want. After a moment's pause, as if his inner determination had solidified, Mike declared,
I've decided to stop the remittances.
Is that your decision from the bottom of your heart? Mia sought confirmation.
Yes, there's no doubt about it.
Mike nodded.
Seeing you stand up so firmly for me, I came to my senses. I realized that if I had refused them outright then and there, it would have led to a prolonged argument. So I deliberately chose to leave the place early, and from now on, I've decided to stop the remittances and effectively choose to cut off our financial relationship.
I was deeply moved by Mike's words and called out to him with a heartfelt, Mike, filled with gratitude and joy. I felt a great sense of satisfaction knowing that my husband had chosen to stand by my side of his own accord instead of siding with his parents. And thus, without any forewarning, he quietly decided to stop the financial support and took a new step forward. Since there were still slight concerns, we decided to move to a different rental apartment, preparing for a possible surprise visit from the in-laws. Amidst settling into our new living environment, peaceful days continued for a while. After some time of peace, we eventually started hearing the voices of the in-laws through Mike's cell phone. However, Mike ignored all of their calls deliberately, continuing to intentionally ignore them. The in-laws persistently attempted to contact, but Mike consistently avoided their attempts, intentionally cutting off all communication with them. Over 3 months passed, and one day, the in-laws suddenly showed up at Mike's workplace. With tears streaming down their faces, they pleaded for financial support. Lisa, teary-eyed, desperately begged.
We need financial help.
Ken, too, pleaded in a voice filled with despair.
We're family, aren't we? Please lend us a hand.
The in-laws kneeled at Mike's feet, conveying their desperate situation and begging for help. They explained that as a result of the financial support from Mike ceasing, their funds had run out, and they were pushed to the point of having to take on debts. They absolutely needed help from Mike. Their last resort of using tears seemed to have worked, and they believed that Mike would once again be under their control. However, Mike was no longer willing to be swayed by his parents' words like before. Our ties ended at that moment, Mike declared firmly. Lisa, disappointed, argued back in a pained voice.
Why would you say something like that?
Ken, unable to hide his agitation, also appealed.
Are you going to abandon your own family? Do you think that's acceptable?
Still, Mike stuck to his decision resolutely.
I've already made up my mind. This is the end.
He told his parents, making his final intention clear. Mike, as if he had run out of patience, spoke out.
You've been using me all this time, and now you talk about family when it suits you. If you keep bothering me, I might even call the police.
He clarified his firm stance against his parents. The in-laws were shocked by his words and lost their ability to speak. The gazes of those around them became harsh, and they left the scene as if they were fleeing. Hearing about this incident, I felt a genuine joy in my heart, realizing that my husband had finally freed himself from the mental shackles of his parents. Time passed, and the economic situation of the in-laws worsened. They ended up selling their house to pay off debts. Now living in a modest apartment, the in-laws are working every day and gradually paying off their debts. Even knowing their situation, I can't help but feel somewhere in my heart that they got what they deserved. In contrast, we, the couple, were able to rapidly increase our savings by stopping the financial support. If things continue this way, we should be able to spend our retirement comfortably without any financial worries, and even owning our dream house seems like a real possibility. I vow in my heart to continue building happy days together with my beloved husband.